In today's discussion, we would be discussing PMPML's green mobility journey throughout the years, Surat's experience with e-buses and the BRTS, the private sector's perspective on electrification, and what the challenges and learnings in the space have been. Before we proceed, we'll have few
Discussion.
housekeeping rules. We'd like all the participants to keep their mic off. And I would also like to request the participants and panelists to feel free to chat and interact with each other in the chat boxes throughout the discussion. However, I would also like to request you to please type your questions in the Q&A box only. Our teams will shortlist these questions for the Q&A session. And finally, if you like a question, you can also upvote it and bring it to them for their attention. I welcome all of you for the discussion today, and I look forward to an insightful discussion. Moving ahead, for our next part, I'll ask Jayaraman Shiva Subramaniam, our National Lead for Public Transport and Electric Mobility at ITDP, to introduce our guest and start the discussion. Shiva, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pranjal, for the such sweet introduction. And special thanks to PMPML for organizing this workshop to understand how electrification of public transport will lead for a green mobility. And I understand that today is the last day of the Foundation Day, and we had a great celebration. And especially the bus day was made the high spot among all the other events, especially happened and created a lot of vibe in the country. And since the same week, I was also part of the Surat event, which happened. I could say the two similar events happening and a lot of vibing happening in terms of sustainable transportation, also in terms of how buses have been taken as a very important in the part of people's life. So bringing here, the bus day is especially is a very important event, I would consider myself, because the time we have gone through, the difficult phases we have gone through because of COVID, and it is really needed for appreciating the citizens who've been using and very actively been supporting public transportation, the crew, the staff who have stood. And this particular day is to contribute not only to Pune, to all over the country to celebrate the importance of buses. And this really had brought a lot of vibe in the city as well as the country to understand like why buses need to be celebrated. A positive vibration has been created. And being a very active user and being very close, like everybody in the lifespan would have been using buses in a very in different aspects. I would say that from the 16th generation, from the 60s to 2K generation, if you see people somewhere or the other, the lifestyle would have changed. But buses have always been in their very special moment in their life where their success and everything has been somewhere buses have played a very vital role. The recent video of Sachin Tendulkar, I really like to bring in because that video really brought a lot of aspiration. The love he brought in when he saw the particular route where he used to travel, and the way he was going around the bus and celebrating and also acknowledging that this particular bus has been a very vital role for his success in his career, and that brought a lot of aspiration to people like celebrities coming forward. And I'm looking forward to various other people who have been successful in life, and public transport has been very key, important aspect, should come forward and present the same way how Sachin has come in. So considering like though buses, the terminology has been same, but the buses have been changing to the buses which Sachin was interacting was not the same bus which used to be commuting, but the route is same and they have the same flavor coming into the picture. So especially when we see the generation has been changing from the mobile phone from 2G to 4G. Now we are talking about 5G. Buses also is coming with various flavors, various aspirations, and various type of models which will aspire people to come forward and enrich those moments. Secondly, not only on terms of buses, we are also trying to see like what sort of services needs to be given. Now, from the mixed traffic, we have been trying to see like now buses needs to have a segregated space. The BRT as Pune has been the front line in that, and also other cities like Surat, Pimpri Chinchwad, and also Hubli Dharwad. And also in terms of technology, for fuel technology, we've been exploring various, and cities been very appreciative in terms of accepting those technologies and exploring those things. And one of the way where we've been emerging from diesel to CNG, from there, now we are talking about electrification. Also the future is more about talking about hydrogen, which is way forward and it's coming. And that there comes an aspiration that how the city is also adhering towards what is new coming and how we are trying to accommodate into their daily operations. Committing to our recent the COP26 commitment with the government's goal to achieve the net zero by 2070. It comes with a aspiration to all the people. It's not only from the national government, because it penetrates to nook and corner of the country where we collectively come together to address how together we can achieve that particular goal, where we work towards getting the net zero by 2070. So where electrification is going to really play a very important role. The second aspect which I would like to also bring in, the low car ownership per capita. The ratio of car per 1,000 individuals in far is less than in India than compared to the foreign countries. So this creates a majority of the population still dependent on public transportation. The electrification of PT is very crucial because the carbon emission reduction, where the mass scale electrification of public transportation and other vehicles are happening, where buses are going to play a very critical role. And government is also coming and playing a very important role in coming a lot of good initiatives like FAME and also the recent Grand Challenge, where we can see a lot of cities are coming forward and they are very much interested to uptake of the electric buses. So from here, I would like to bring our panelists to understand their perspective. So we have eminent panelists with us. So first, I would like to introduce Dr. Chetana Kurkure ma'am, Joint Managing Director, PMPML, nodal agency for bus operations and Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad. And we also have Mustafa, transport planner from Surat City Link Limited. We have Mr. Prasanna Padwardhan, the president, bus and car operation BOCI, and also the chairman of managing director of Prasanna Purple, and also Mr. Simon Gandhi, the director of Chartered Speed Private Limited. We are looking forward to hear an interactive session. So I would like to introduce Chetna ma'am to give a presentation on the the vision of green mobility. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you for having me here. Yes, as you all know, PMPML is pioneer for the e-bus procurement and operation as well. Pranjal, can you share the screen, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Actually, on the occasion of this Foundation Day, 15th Foundation Day of PMPML, we launched the whole celebration. We celebrated the Foundation Day, not the day, we celebrated the week. So we planned different activities on different days. So for the first day, on the first day, we have arranged this bus day event just to promote the public transport, and that to buses, public transport buses. So on that day, we actually had 1,800 buses en route, just to give the frequency, the desired frequency for the commuters. And we really got huge response from all the commuters, and very well appreciated this event by media persona as well. And credit goes to ITDP also, and thanks for being associated with us, Shiva, and the whole ITDP team. Yes, next slide, please. PMPML is again the most what is preferred city transport for both this Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad city area. We cover at almost 93% of city area to give the operations to the commuters and the citizens of the city. 66% of the cities have frequent bus transit option to travel to their destination or their desired places. Next, please. Yes, this is very actually interested as scary, or as really we should think about this. The number of buses available for per lakh population. If we really want to promote this public transport system to the city, we need to have some kind of this the Mahua has given the benchmark to have at least 50 buses for per lakh population. Here is the comparison from the world and from India, the city public transport. So PMPML is very low in that number. We have only 26 buses per lakh population. So now in this vision document, we really wanted to reach at least the benchmark level during this 5 years vision period. Next, please. This is ridership. As we all know, due to this corona and pandemic impact, all the public transport, not only public transport, the whole world got stopped. So this massive blow affected PMPML as well. The ridership was down to the 3.69 population, count of the commuters. Now we already almost reached the pre-pandemic level, that is 11.80 lakh people commuters traveled during this birthday event. So we are coming to the normal situation, that is pre-pandemic or pre-COVID period. Next. This is our main vision. We really want to provide buses, buses near to everyone, to go everywhere and on time. So we want to provide bus service as most reliable, most trustworthy, and safe access to the citizen. This is our vision in our document. Yeah, this is again, as you all know, 2006 was the first BRT road development project initiated in India. That was that was also by PMC. So this is the slide where we have the detailed program or detailed plan of the project, where almost we have the PMC has planned for 100 kilometers of BRT road lane distribution. And now we almost have 73 kilometers of road, BRT roads. So infra is definitely growing very fast, and that's why we have succeeded. But yes, the desired target is really not achieved to the fullest, whatever was proposed. Next. Data-driven approach to optimize performance. As we all know, the future is of data and future is of electric as well. So we really need to see the progress or the operation to monitorize and supervise the key parameters or key indicators based on the operational as the system level or institutional level, and for the user experience also. So what can be done on system or institutional level? So we really need to focus on the daily ridership, the passenger per bus per day, scheduled kilometer or cancel kilometer, percent of buses off road, breakdown per kilometer or per 1,000 kilometers, that is CIRT formula. But not only limited to these KPIs, these are the key parameters where we should focus on. But as well as we need to focus to start or to work on IT based, the technologies to bring in the institution to have better monitoring and supervising system. So benchmarks for the user experience also we have derived. So this is again the result of Transport for All survey, which is conducted, the challenge conducted by the Central Ministry, and ITDP was again in support for this event. So waiting time, we received lot of feedback on this long waiting time, access to information, reliability, and affordability. These were the KPIs of operational performance and user experience. We need to focus on both as well. Next, please. Yeah. These are some outcomes of the survey. As you all know, PMPML is one of the front runner city of this Transport for All challenge. So we almost conducted the survey, taken the feedback of 11,000 plus citizens, where we have covered the citizen, IPT drivers, our bus drivers, conductors across both the twin city, that is Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad. So we all know we have covered the gender, then the age group, the income group. All these was covered in this survey, and this survey are really very neat to get the feedback to deliver the better services to the citizen. Next, please. Yeah, this is the people's concerns, long waiting time. Yeah, PMPML has come out with some solutions. That is, we have provided this Punya Dasham service in the core city area, where we give the affordable, that is 10 rupees daily pass to the citizen. There are 9 routes we have given this Punya Dasham service. We have the frequency at the peak hours, say around at least 2 minutes per 2 minutes frequency we are giving there. So route rationalization, we have done of primary level route rationalization we have completed. Passenger information system is in place, but it is again we need to improve it to today's level. So real-time tracking of the buses is again one of the major concern or the service we should provide to the citizen if we really want to convert the two-wheeler or three-wheeler passengers to the public transport system. Next, please. 91% have given the concern about these points which we have. Yes, in 2018, PMPML has launched first of its e-bus fleet in the operations. Initially, we have the 25-meter, 9 meters, 25 buses, and 12-meter, 150 buses. So total by 2022, we will have 650 buses in our fleet. So again, additional 300 electric 7-meter e-buses are in procurement phase, where we really want to give the feeder service to the metro and the core city area, where we really want to connect the people, the last mile connectivity option to be given to the citizen. Metro, as we all know, is coming in the operations, and we really don't see metro or any other transport operation or any other mode as a competitor. We both have, or whatever public transport is there, we all are aiming to give the seamless traffic or transport mobility options to the citizen. So we should work hand in hand with all the transport modes. 6 additional dedicated e-bus depots we are developing with this for this 650 and plus 300, almost 1000 new buses. Additional number of charging points for citizen as well we are developing. The infra which we really want to promote the EV policy of the government, we are giving providing the public charging stations to the citizen also. So next please. This is birthday event. We really got huge response. On birthday event, we just provided 1800 buses on the route. Then 5 routes. On 5 routes, we had the bus priority lane notified by the traffic police department. We got response, the better association with traffic department, from traffic department as well. People are demanding more buses, that is frequency is really needed, and if we give really better frequency, this is outcome of the bus day is we got the 2.5 lakh passengers more. Those that much of number passengers traveled on that particular day because of the frequency we maintain. So we set a vision for this procurement of buses to get that to reach that benchmark of 50 buses for per lakh population. It's a celebration, and people associated that celebration and enjoyed that celebration too. Next, please. On 19th, actually 19th April was really the foundation day of PMPML. So we had many concessional ticketing system on that particular this day. So Punya Dasham service was totally free on this 19th foundation day. Then only 2 tickets were available. Minimum was 5 rupees and maximum was 10 rupees. Here also we got huge response to the services provided by PMPML by the citizen. Citizen really accepted and truly were willing to convert to the public transport system. 20th, we dedicated this day to womanhood. So we gave the 10 rupees daily pass, full day pass to the women. So we almost got 2 point something lakh women traveled on that day, particular day. So next. These are some of the ridership increase comparative graphs showing, sharing with you guys. we really taking different approaches, strategies, initiatives to increase all the ridership. So this is the feedback, or what we can say, the survey done by ITDP. People responded positively to the initiations taken by PMPML. Next, please. This is a birthday event where we have launched this vision document. That is the two aspect, the KPIs for system and KPIs for user experience. Then the number of buses to reach at least the benchmark, and again to become the pioneer or front runner city to provide different strategical, what we can say, the options or initiations to the public to travel, to convert them, to attract them to the PMPL level, public transport. Then we had this vision, we set this vision to be or clean or green public transport facility, hassle-free commute to city. So next slide, please. This is some of the other photographs. We had different games. We arranged different games for our staff. The staff also enjoyed a lot. Then Paithani Sa Khel program was arranged for our lady staff, all the conductors. We have almost 400 plus lady conductors or total in all. So dedicated womanhood day, we can say. Exhibition on wheels is another new concept to promote these services provided by citizen. The information was the main lacuna we experienced through this feedback of P4A. So we have arranged this exhibition on wheels initiative, where we have introduced the whole journey of PMPML, from I think 1940 to 2022. So we have shown the journey, the transformation of PMPML, then the different concessional passes for senior citizens, for students, for differently abled persons, then for women, then the dedicated lane, and this Bus for Us Foundation really supported us for this wheels, or the exhibition on wheels event. So we are taking again different initiatives to reach to the masses, to the people, to show them the real information which PMPML is having. PMPML really want to share with the people to have their experience, a better journey planning. That is, we are providing the maps on major interchanges initially to start with just. Then one Unipol system is there where the name of the bus stand and the buses were applying from particular that point to with the QR code and all. So these are some of the initiatives, and we are looking forward to it. Next, please. Shift to green mobility. Currently, we have the 956 buses in CNG buses and 310 electric buses in our fleet. And we really think to have this 50-50% of own buses and GCC buses, so that there should not be any monopoly or any other, we can say, as strike or something. So people should not affect from such incidences. So we are aiming to have the 50-50% of the buses in the fleet, and all the future procurement will be of e-buses only. Next. Yes, thank you. These are all the initiatives and the birthday event programs which we have organized, and we got huge response from media as well. So thank you ITDP, thank you media, thank you citizen of Pune. We who have the great response. We really do have that responsibility to provide and to give the better transport or mobility options to the citizen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the enlightening presentation, ma'am. Ma'am, definitely by seeing your presentation, I could see that there are two things which was majority be demand. It's been dominating was like you are more data-drivenly looking into how your performance and everything. The data was reflecting very hardly, and data with infographics will definitely give a lot of meaningful aspect to the people, how we are trying to see and also learn from ourselves to go to the right direction. And secondly, the engagement you've been having with the public, especially the citizen engagement, and how you're bringing city and citizens coming together to celebrate and also to make it like feel like a family. I think that really aspires, and this aspire will also take to other cities for learning. Thank you, ma'am. We have questions, but ma'am, we would like to bring those questions during the panel discussion. And now I would like to bring Mr. Mustafa, the transport planner from the CityLink to come make a presentation about and learnings from Surat. Thank you.
Yeah. So, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank ITDP for providing me this opportunity to participate as a panelist in this discussion. I would like to thank my co-panelists as well. In a way, we all represent Surat because Mr. Prasanna and Mr. Gandhi are also operating buses in Surat on GCC-based model. So in a way, we all are representing Surat today, and having this a good presentation from Chetna ma'am also have set up this kind of a background for mobility around e-buses. So yeah, over the several years, we are seeing that the entire discussion is related to metro-based public transport. But now, thanks to Government of India for introducing, e-mobility schemes, so that the focus has now, again shifted from metro to e-buses and e-mobility kind of a thing. So I'll just, as we all know that Government of India have launched a FAME 1 and FAME 2 scheme. In FAME 1, they have launched given a grant of around 5,600 buses. But, this scheme was launched in order to promote e-mobility. It was nice initiative by Government of India, but we also need to realize that around 3,500 work orders have been placed as per today, from which around 885 buses are already deployed. So we have achieved around just 61% of target. If we see FAME 2 scheme, it is even less than that. So yes, the initiative is there, but as part of ULBs, we have to focus on those things, and we have to work very efficiently in order to achieve those targets which has been set up by Government of India. So today I will be talking on Surat experience. This is a Surat public transport characteristic in which we are operating around 108 kilometers of BRTs, 450 kilometers of city bus network. And we are the India's longest BRTs dedicated network. So just now, we had this conference, smart city, smart urbanization kind of a thing, wherein ITDP team were also there to visit this India's longest BRTs corridor. So we are operating around 717 buses, in which we are already operating 49 e-buses, and that is of mid size. And we are having around every daily ridership of around 2.75 lakhs per day. This is the Surat transit map. So in which you can see the red one, which is there, which is BRTS, which is 108 kilometer length. And the city buses are used as a feeder to integrate with BRTS trunk, so that passenger can take interchanges on major BRT stations, and then they can reach their respective destination in order to improve first and last mile connectivity also. So as Madam said, then it is very important to look at how many percentage of area does our public transport cover. So we are covering around 95% of city limits, in which we are covering around 99% of population. So just to ensure that we are having a buffer of 500 meters on both the sides. So as you all know that 500 meters is a walkable distance in where person can walk till 500 meters. So we have taken a buffer of 500 meters on both the sides of our public transport lines. So in a way we are covering around 99% of population within SMC limits. Talking about Surat's action on e-mobility plan kind of a thing. So these are the initiatives that already SMC have taken up. We've last year only we ordered around 150 e-buses, out of which we got this on a rate of 55.26. The operator is EVA Trans supported by Olectra, in which 14 buses are already in operation. So 101 buses are going to add soon. Apart from that, we have already issued a work order of 150 more buses, in which we have got a GCC rate of 48 rupees, and the operator is Green Cell Mobility. And then next year, you might be knowing that CESL is having a tender of 5,000 e-buses around the country, right? So we have bid for around 150 median 25 double-decker e-buses for Surat. The price bid is yet to be open for a tender which has been floated under CSL for 5,000 buses. And regarding the transit infrastructure which is there, 3 dedicated depots are under construction for those e-buses. Electrification of existing 9 depots are being done, and identification of more pockets of land is being substantially carried out for e-buses depot under process. So this is just a sample image of e-buses. We have this 49 e-buses as our median in size and 9 meter, and we are around having around 24 seating capacity. So this is there. This is very important. This table, when we talk about, there is always a debate between range versus the price. So this was a table which was being published by UITP report, in which we have several cities like Delhi, Kolkata, Surat, Bangalore, BST, and now Mumbai, Chandigarh, even Ahmedabad. So what is the good range? How much kilometer should you operate for a single chart? There is always a debate. We had this little discussion when we went for CSL meeting as well. So if you want to operate more in a single chat, you have to pay more. It is as simple as that. So if I want to operate more as a 200 plus kilometer in a single chat, then I have to, my GCZ, it will be more. And if I have those like kind of opportunity charging, like we seen in PMML also, that they have provided opportunity charging in some 3 or 4 stops or stations, maybe you have to plan in such a way that you can pay less. So it all depends on your city, in your transit infrastructure. So supposedly, in a city like Mumbai, in cities like BMTC, when you see those their transit maps, it is not possible for them to allocate the depot within the city limits. So maybe they have to go for outskirts for those depot, because they don't have space requirement. In Surat also we are having some problem, but luckily I will be covering my slides that our depot is located more on transit routes only, so that we can curtail those routes where we can ask our buses to go to depot. They can go for single chat, and then they can return to those routes as well. So this is something that we have to be very cautious while deciding the range versus the rate which we want for our cities. So if it is if your city is operating more of what you say interoperability of buses or inter routes, then you might be having more range requirement, or you can have to pay more. But if your city is such that your depots are located near your transit infrastructure, then you can go for a single opportunity charging, in where you can have a range of 140, 160, even 170 kilometers. So you have to be very cautious when we decide these parameters. This is the whole debate between using diesel e-buses and the conventional diesel buses versus the e-buses is there. So I will just like to you can see this table. So we started with Prasanna's operation, wherein we had this in 2014, where we incepted BRTS. At that time, our rate was 55 rupees for 12 meter AC, right? Now, with those diesel difference and with those KPI calculation, you can see the rate. It has increased to 71 rupees. And if you see, the below graph also from 2016 to 2021, because we have to, pay the diesel difference as well. The diesel difference rates have increased 3-fold in 4 years. So when it was, in 2016-17, it was just 3 rupees. Now it is 9.81 rupees. So all these calculation are applied on if you operate, diesel buses. It is not there in e-buses. Similarly, in Hansa, in Charter and Adinat and Sri Madhu Travels, if you see the base rate and if you see the rates which we are paying them currently, the difference is huge. So if you can see the percentage increase, it is around 25 to 30% increase from since we started their operations. Now in e-buses, this diesel difference thing is not there. So a lot of savings can be made. Apart from we have to pay some certain CPS, but that is too minimal as compared to this diesel difference. So the point here I want to make, cities should be very cohesive if we want to accept these e-buses very quickly as compared to these diesel buses as well. So how Surat is doing? What are the Note 40 WACs? You might be knowing that every city nowadays will be having ITMS integration with existing system. We are having up-to-date tracking with complete tracking and accuracy. Second, we have selected the depot sites very cautiously and very precisely, so that it is located near our transit routes only. third, the noteworthy fact here, which I wanted to make it, as we are having Chief Minister Urban Bus Service Scheme, which is being supported by Government of Gujarat. So Government of Gujarat has launched this scheme to support the ULBs in Gujarat for viability gap funding. In this context, we are getting 25 rupees per kilometer for e-buses for this viability gap funding and as an operational support. So in a way, if I'm paying just now, 55.26 rupees, if I'm getting 25 rupees as my grant, I'm just paying 30 rupees, right, for this e-buses operation per kilometer. So in that way, I'm having saving of 10 lakhs per bus compared to diesel buses due to subsidy support given by state government. So these are the, I mean, every city is actually, you can procure buses from your own from your grants that are receiving from FAME 2 and FAME 1. But if you want to operate with such a efficient way, you also need some kind of viability gap funding, because no public transport in India, throughout India, is profit making. So you need those subsidies in kind of to operate very efficiently. Fourth, I'm not taking proud in saying that, but maybe ask our operators also that the payment of every bus operators in SMC is getting cleared in average 3+8 working days. So in a way, it also depends on what rate they quote. So we are having, if you see the other cities example also, in Surat, the rates are a bit, lower as compared to other cities. So that is why, this is also the reason why we are having such good rates. The electricity traffic in Surat is calculated as a summation of fixed and variable units, wherein we are paying ₹4 per unit as fixed cost and variable as 2.5 and 2.8 varies depending on the demand of the electricity. So it is equal to 6.5 per unit, 1 unit of electricity. And as we all know, then we are having this FAME 2 subsidy scheme of ₹45 lakhs per bus, which is provided under FAME 2 scheme. So yeah, this was that is there. Now, if you see the slides, the yellow one are the current depots. So if you can see, just compare the overlap my, transit maps on my depot map on just a layer, you can see, all my depot and are located on the transit these lines only. So in a way, it is very easy for me to, take my buses to the depot. They can charge. I don't have to unnecessarily create, some opportunity points at my terminals, because there will be, space issues also. Because if we take Surat example, the central zone is very densely populated. So we need spaces. The challenge for ULB is to find those spaces. So you have to create some public spaces, and have to create spaces for opportunity charging. But in a way, can we do this kind of footing wherein we can select this space requirement in vicinity of our transit lines, so that it becomes easy for our drivers for operation purpose also to take my buses for those opportunity charging. They can go for 75 or 90 minutes depending on the tender requirements, and they can come back on route very quickly without hampering the frequencies which is required in peak hours or non-peak hours. This is how we are operating our buses. So if you see, starting from February to March, it is being 1 year, right? And we are operating around 40 to 49 buses every day. So just I want to highlight this percentage of lost kilometers, right? If you can see just this column around 7 column, if you can see, it is less than 1% or nearly 1%. So 1% is the total loss of kilometers. So if anyone say, you are because of your operating that you sold as buses, you are having this percentage of lost kilometers, but it's not the case. We are purely having good tracking based on ITMS and all those things, and we are having good schedules, efficient schedules. That is because this is possible because of those things. So when we procure e-buses, if it is written, if it is standard that I have to operate 192 kilometers as per assured, that is my responsibility as a public transport agency. That operator has to, if it is operating, that much kilometers, my responsibility to see. If it is not operating, then it is my responsibility also to ask questions that why it is so. And in a way, if there is a schedule revision thing is required, or any such support is being required, there is a responsibility of public transport agency to cover those things, and then revise the schedules based on needs, so that percentage of lost kilometers can be minimized. And in order to if we are minimizing the percentage of lost kilometer, we are giving good frequency and good operations also to the customers. So in a way, that passengers can also be increased. right? So this is how we are operating the buses. So it is not the case that we are operating since 2 or 3 months and then we are having this percentage of lost kilometers as 1%, but we are operating since a year now. And this is how we do it. And Madam also, spoke about this transit performance indicator. So we all have to, work together and have to have this kind of charts so that this can be improved ahead. And this is how we are doing this by vehicle and driver allocation due to with ITMS support, wherein each driver is being allocated in each vehicle, so that control center, command and control center can monitor each and every bus trips, and then they can have this violations and all those things. So you can see this is a real-time bus operation. So because of this, all these things, all this support, my percentage of lost kilometers is very low, and that is why we are operating quite efficiently. So it is possible because of this AVLS system where all these violations can pop up from command and control center, so that alert can be alerts can be passed on to operator also, and they can take corrective action also on field. And this is how we are logging incident management system. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation, wherein what we discuss what are the things that Surat is doing, but in a way not just Surat, but even all the cities that are now focusing on e-mobility have to pull up the socks and have to ensure that they are running the operations quietly, efficiently. So yeah, thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you, Mustafa, for sharing and experience and learning. Very insightful. Thank you very much. So, ma'am, I think we can start the panel discussion. First, I would like to come to you, ma'am. Ma'am, since Pune has been the front runner in terms of operation of e-buses, at the time when the FAME scheme was launched, but Pune had gone ahead with their own format of model for procuring buses and showcasing that even city level the procurement can happen, and being a front runner into showcasing to other cities as well. Just want to understand, ma'am, because that time there was a lot of confusion in terms of technology maturity level of electric buses was questioned, and the range and many things, and but still the Pune really believe in the transformation towards electric. So just wanted to understand what really made you to believe in electric and way and also your future plan.
Yeah, the first was we really wanted to have these e-buses in our fleet way back, I think in 2018 first. The then CMD, Mrs. Naina Gunde, has taken this initiative, and we actually got the help of CIRT for this technical specifications. And the first, most and very important conditions we put in our RFP document was the full load trial of that bus. The 7 days full load trial of that bus was the major, I can say, the condition which many had failed. So we have the different routes, the different areas where we really have the congestion or whatever, many other aspects were there, and every city to city these aspects differ. So that was the main condition, I think, and CIRT helped us a lot in this specification and RFP document. So today, almost we have completed 2 crores of kilometer of this e-bus operations. So not a single breakdown just because of this e-charging or charging issue.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you for your response. I would like to bring in Mr. Prasanna Patwardhan, President BOCI. Sir, hello, sir. I think you are muted.
Hello. Hello.
So, sir, since you've been the face and voice of private operators in the country, and also been trying to take their voice to the highest level of discussion, and considering that the commitment of India towards the COP26 commitment, where the zero emission by 2070, we want to understand how the private sector is really going to play their role in terms of building a roadmap for helping the country towards achieving that sort of a target.
See, as far as electric buses are concerned, private sector from operators' perspective is lagging far behind for multiple reasons. Presently, we are as a BOCI, we try to bring in awareness amongst our operators that how new technologies we must start using and what would be the use of this new technology for their benefit also, not only for environment, because in our country, self-benefit is looked after first and then environmental benefit. So it is important for them to understand how it could benefit them. And now as diesel prices go up, electric buses will make more economical sense. So economic compulsions will make them take electric buses.
Sure.
But there are several challenges to go into that direction. And one of the challenge is to see, for example, if you buy a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, a private two-wheeler or four-wheeler, central government subsidy is available. If you buy bus through STU, subsidy is available. But if I buy private electric bus, there is no subsidy. So I don't understand this logic. When two-wheeler and private four-wheelers are getting subsidy, why private bus operators are not getting subsidy? So that is one of the area which is the biggest hindrance. So there is no competitive advantage today because of the cost of acquisition of electric buses in buying electric buses. That is one. Second is a trained manpower is also a serious challenge. Since it's a new technology and evolving technology, even OEMs are struggling with themselves how to maintain their own buses. If you look at the kind of tenders which are coming in, all those tenders are totally in favor of people, those who have money. And operators, particularly after this pandemic, they do not have much money left with them to invest. So your technical ability is not given a weightage, your financial ability is given a weightage. And that is why most of the OEMs, and it has been made mandatory also for OEMs to stay invested in the SPV. So most of the contracts are, except Green Cell, which also is hugely backed by fund, which is Eversource. No operator as yet could enter into any of the government contracts. So why is that? So that is because of the way this tender is designed. And we have been talking to government on this front that you need to give more weightage to technical capabilities, because ultimately who is going to run? And when OEMs take tender and when operators run buses, operations are subcontracted to operators, wherein it attracts 18% of GST. So you are increasing your cost by 18%. So on one side, you want to reduce cost, and on the other side, you are creating a SPV, or you are creating a structure wherein your costs are going up. So there is serious challenge in entering into government contract by private operators. They are unable to enter into private government operations directly. Indirectly, everywhere private operators are only operating buses, because that capability is absolutely absent with OEMs. So that is one. But apart from this, what I believe, I would just take few minutes on general bus services. It is very important from training point of view. When I say trained manpower is not available, that applies to starting from people sitting in the ministry to people actually operating buses. I have been advocating this at government level for last now several years, that public transport as a subject should be introduced in institutions like where IAS officers, IPS officers are trained, or even state level cadre is trained. So unless a person who is handling that activity is aware and knowledgeable about what does this business require, it would be difficult to have a better services. So training at all level is required. Awareness about public transport is required at all levels, and that is seriously lacking in our country. Secondly, when it comes to investment, bus transport particularly is completely ignored. See, 85% of people in this country, they just cannot buy their own vehicles. So for them, what is important is a vehicle which can take them from place A to place B. And which is the vehicle which is taking them from place A to place B? Public transport. So we invest huge amount of money on building a road which is of no use, absolutely zero use to any person, 85% of the citizens. They require some sharing kind of a vehicle which can take them from place A to place B. So some percentage of road budget should be given to public transport to strengthen public transport systems. Now, when we come to public transport systems, again here, buses are given stepmotherly treatment. And just to give you example of our city where I stay, Pune. So 22,000 crores are spent on developing metro network, that too only 2 or 3 lines. Only in interest of that 22,000, PMPML can serve people free of cost. Free of cost service to everybody. Nobody needs to pay. 1% cess is levied on each transaction as a metro cess. Why not public transport cess? Why only metro cess? That money also should come to buses. It is not only metro which should get viability gap funding, and for which general public who is not even using metro, I can assure you that in our city, I believe that not more than 2 lakh people will use metro. Whereas PMPML today carries 12 lakh people. So 12 lakh people are not being subsidized, but 2 lakh people are highly subsidized. That is also a disparity which needs to go. So these 2 things, I think, unless we focus on these 2 things, and then we come to e-mobility. In e-mobility, I see that as a great opportunity for bus service to improve its image. When we talk about the bus services, people, some dilapidated bus comes in front of them. But that image, this is the greatest opportunity to all of us to change that image. Now, the kind of comfort which e-bus provides, there is absolutely no difference in the comfort which metro can provide or even bus can provide. If you look at metro, why people aspire for metro? Because it gives you excellent environment. And that environment comes at an excellent cost. Whereas at 1/10 of the cost, buses can provide not exactly the same, but similar kind of environment. If you build, see, if it's a bus stop, you just see one pole. It's a metro station, it's a 5-star kind of a facility. So in public transport also, some amount of, I had given a suggestion that at least 10% of the metro fund should go to bus systems.
Yes.
Including viability gap funding and including first kind of funding. When it comes to financial closure for bus systems, we get funding only for buses. I'm talking about my private operators. But when it comes to metro system, you get project finance, and that too at 2%, 3%. We buy buses at 9%, 10%. We need to give collateral if we want to buy buses. We don't have money to develop depots. We don't get any money for developing charging infrastructure. So running a diesel bus was easy because it hardly required any other infrastructure because diesel pumps were available. But for here, we are required to establish charging infrastructure. We are required to establish depots. And we also require working capital. So all that is lacking when it comes to financing, because we don't get project finance, we get vehicle finance.
Yes, sir. So it understands that we have to bring a lot of other things to come together to make this thing possible.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I will close because I can keep on talking for days when it comes to public transport. But coming to my last point, government needs to have parity when it comes to funding. And unless right kind of funding is given, and as Mr. Mustafa said rightly, we get paid dot on time in Surat, and that's why they get better rates, they get better service also. But many of the STUs, they are so poorly funded that they don't have money even to pay their salaries. So that's why those payments get delayed, then service gets deteriorated, and that whole cycle of bad service starts. So government needs to really support public transport in funding. Unless that happens, whether you bring in e-buses, hydrogen buses, or what kind of buses, things would not improve the way which we would like them to improve. So thank you. If you have any questions, I am open for the answers.
Sure. Thank you. So that was very comprehensive answer. I think you covered a lot more. And I would like to go to Mr. Sayam Gandhi, a young entrepreneur heading the chartered SPI and also the chartered bikes. Sayam, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Sayam, since you've been working with many cities on a PPP basis and also operating buses privately, what challenges do you anticipate in the space of electrification? And also, can you also bring in some sort of your incentives which you might see that could really help, especially when the private sector working with the government?
Yeah, so in terms of challenges, right, I think electric buses actually offer the greatest opportunity for bus operators in the country. The fault with internal combustion engine was, there are so many moving parts that anything could break down at any time. All of that actually goes away in the electric bus, right? So the amount of intense operational expertise we required for diesel buses, that actually reduces quite a lot, right? So I see the opportunity that everybody, that is operating maybe 400, 500, 1000 buses, they can operate almost 10 times the buses that they're operating today with the same kind of, intensity. So in terms of opportunity, of course, the scale is massive. But in terms of challenges, Prasannaji already mentioned this. The main thing is capital, right? So capital, both in terms of the amount that it's required, but also the type of capital required, right? So with electric buses, because the cost has tripled and the tenure of the contract has also increased, right? So for diesel buses, we were looking at 7 years or 8 years of operation. To have total cost of ownership parity, now all the contracts have increased to 10 to 12 years, right? So good that the contract sizes have increased, but the funding that is available, it is still available for 4 and 5 years, right? So on a cash flow basis, you are making huge loss for 4 and 5 years if you're taking normal bank finance, and then you are actually recuperating after 5 or 6 years, which is very difficult for bus operators. For OEMs, it is very easy because they have huge land banks. They can get project funding by putting up collaterals for their land banks, right? So they can get an 8-year or a 10-year period, which is why OEMs, are front runners in all the projects. But what we see is, it is not the same kind of relationship, right? So when a bus operator is operating in your city, right, he comes not just with his, his team, but himself, right? So you would see, Prasannaji as well, my father, we've all been, interacting with cities, but, we actually come to look at the operations. If something goes wrong, we are actually fixing it. Now, the same thing will not be available in the kind of corporate and government, almost semi-government kind of infrastructure, which is in the OEMs, right? So what you need for your city is not another elephant to deal with, right? Because government itself is very difficult in terms of paperwork and bureaucracy. Now you add almost semi-government, big, huge OEMs with it, and everything starts to move slow. But we need actually faster implementation. We need flexible infrastructure, and we need to, quickly make things better in terms of what is required in the city. So in terms of challenges, I think, the main challenge is capital. In terms of financial and technical capabilities, I think now more and more authorities are seeing that, operators are also equally capable. So we now operate about 40 electric buses in Indore. And we see, it's very, very easy to actually operate electric buses compared to ICE, internal combustion engine vehicles. The part about training, right? So Prasannaji mentioned, training is really not available with OEMs. So with every vehicle, we get like a service schedule, right? So because these buses are coming in for the first time, the electric buses that came to us, they did not come with a very comprehensive maintenance schedule. So we figured out, like 1.5 years into the project or 2 years into the project, we started seeing that the AC compressors are failing. Right, this is a 1.2 crore bus, and the AC starts to fail. Why is it failing? Because the greasing was not done on time. Why was the greasing not done on time? Because the OEM did not have that manual, because this vehicle has not gone through the entire experience, entire cycle of operations. Now these are very small things that need to be looked at, and which is why bus operators come into the picture, because they are coming from a service perspective. They're a service-based, service-oriented company. Manufacturing is a completely different perspective. So having said that, there are challenges, but there's huge opportunities in terms of electric buses that are coming up.
Thank you, Saim. That was very useful. So I'd like to go back to Mr. Mustafa. Mustafa, it was very happy to hear, like from the STU side as well as the private side, complementing each other, that especially on the Surat operation. And definitely for an operation, we definitely have a standard operating procedure, and also the payments are done as per the service level benchmark. So wanted to understand, like, though your payments are connected with the service level benchmark, where do you see the gaps, and where are the places where still some sort of improvement the private sector can foresee? And could you put some light on that?
Yeah, so I know a good point, a good question you asked. So I will just take an example of my city, that is Surat. Currently, what we are doing is that, you might be going through my presentation, I've seen that we are having this ITMS system. So it is well supported with the operators also. So operator also have this reconciliation screen wherein, they can see the trips their driver does, and, the violations that the drivers do. Typically in any SQs, if you go back to the depots, or you go back to any command and control center, what happens is, they do manual calculation of all the things, be it, preparing log sheets, or be it preparing the attendance sheet and all those things. So it is very difficult to, in a way, to judge with what, and then there can be, this mispractices also when it comes to those depot operations and the city bus operations. So what Surat has done, ideally, that entire billing is automated. So without human intervention, the billing is made, because ITMS does know that what are the number of trips operated, what are the kilometers the operator has done, what are the violations that has been incorporated system. So entire billing is being automated, and there will be no human intervention when the bill is being prepared at the end of the month. So in a way, it neglects all the human resources which are being, actually is being done for this preparing these rosters, and the kind of human resource management, all those things, and that can be automated. And also this malpractices of not paying to the drivers and conductors and taking bribes and all those things can be avoided when it comes to city bus operations, as well as from the operator's point of view. So yeah, the same window can be prepared, integrated in keeping public transport authorities and also operators in a single time frame. And yeah, I mean, just one point which I wanted to make also is, we are in Surat, we are considering our operators also as a part of our team. So we are not taking and considering them as a contractor, kind of a typical contractor that operate the buses. It is high time that STUs also consider private operators, be it diesel buses or e-buses, as a part of a team, so that they can also be motivated that we are running as a team, and that operation can also be improved. So we are doing that in Surat. It is just I mean, looking at the mind gap also. I mean, it is just a year or maybe 5 years ahead that we might see a full-fledged operation running efficiently in India for e-bus operations as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you for that. I will go to Chetna ma'am once again. Ma'am, the biggest challenge, especially when we operating e-bus bus, one of the important thing is the capacity building, because internal capacity building, and because there has always been a fear when there is a transition or a new technology coming, the staff, they get little insecure in terms of getting adapted to it, and also the political buy-in, like to go and present it to the political party or the political buy-in so that we can go with the new transition. And how did Pune try to address this, and how did you? What are the measures you have taken on this aspect?
Yes, as we all know, change is law of nature, and we must accept this change positively. That too positively. So for this kind of thing, we actually seen two aspects. One is on again institutional based. What Mustafa has said, we really need to work hand in hand with the operators and the staff of the institution. So for institution basis, we have we have associated with Pune University. We have done MOU with COEP and Symbiosis University. Then ITDP, you guys are also there. Then there again, we have to improve really, the staff really need to have the technical trainings or exposures where the best practices are there in the field. So yes, two approaches for the technical help. We are engaged with COEP, their mechanical department. As Mr. Prasanna has mentioned, there should be some post graduation or some kind of academic program should be there. So COEP has just launched the post graduation program in transport engineering. So we have associated with COEP for the full fellowship program also. So the PG student will come to PMPML. We will provide the data to work on that, and they can provide the new solutions or whatever the best practices we can adopt to improve our efficiency as well as the effectivity of the tools with the tools which we have. And for the part of the employees, we really need to work on the capacity building of the employees as well, where we really need to see the communication, where drivers and conductors are the image maker or breaker on the field of the institution. So we need to develop their soft skills also. So for personality development and soft skill development, Symbiosis Management Institution is helping us to develop the module for the training of the staff. Technology as well as soft skill capacity building, we are looking for to really have the paradigm shift in the operational delivering the operations to the citizen. And we have established one center of excellence for transportation and urban planning with the help of COEP, where we really need to, as we all, everybody is saying this public transport as a business, and this is not a business, this is a service, where we really need to think on this. When you consider it as a service, you should not think it in the on the basis of EPK or profit making or something like that. You are giving Mr. Prasanna has correctly mentioned about the capital investment done for the metro or say for the public transport. So for one public metro station building, we really need 50 crores of rupees. And where for the bus, as he mentioned, only 100 CR will do the suffice the purpose. So this shift of seeing the public transport as loss-making company, that is really need to be changed. So yes, we are looking forward very positively, and we are working on this data. So AI-based operation and planning, that is what Mustafa has mentioned, that minimal human intervention should be there, so that there are many malpractices we really need to take care of. So just because of this technology intervention, we really we can cope up with these problems we are facing currently. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to go to Prasanna, sir, once again. Sir, I think you had given a very comprehensive answer to the question about how the private sector are really trying to play in terms of achieving the goal of the COP26, which the government of India has agreed to. Just want to understand, sir, like in terms of bringing the electric vehicles, you also mentioned that because of the diesel price hike, it has been forced by the operators to go and move towards electric, but eventually again the price again matter, and we don't see the other side of things which the operators are facing. So I wanted to understand from your side and with your experience to see like what sort of the incentives or the regulations which the state and national government has to come together so ensure that the private sector can collectively participate. So your useful insights will be very useful here.
So first and foremost, presently electric buses, it is not a demand problem, it's a supply problem. So even if I want to buy electric bus and start running of electric bus, they are not easily available anywhere. Like you go to any showroom and you can buy diesel bus. So you cannot do that for electric buses. That is one. Secondly, charging infrastructure is a serious challenge because for intercity, you will certainly require different charging infrastructure, and intracity, you will require different charging infrastructure. So that charging infrastructure has to be a common infrastructure. I can have my own charging infrastructure in my depot, but then I am limited to some particular range up to which I can operate my buses. So charging infrastructure is the second challenge. First challenge is availability of the bus. And third challenge, as I said, is capital cost of these buses are so heavy that buying them without subsidy is still not, will not make any sense for city operations. For intercity operations, if you are operating more than 500 kilometers a day, even today, it is possible to buy electric bus and run it on 500 kilometer route. But there is a range anxiety, and unless that range anxiety goes, people will not buy those buses. So assurance on service is also a challenge because OEMs themselves are struggling. They don't know what to do with their buses. So how am I supposed to know how to maintain my bus? So unless there is a proof of concept, which is some bus which is running for 5 years on a particular area, particular route, then people will start buying those buses. Fourth, as I said, the kind of finance what we get, the finance is structured in such a way that we need to repay that in 5 years. We get only vehicle funding, we don't get project finance. So I will have to establish my own depot at my own cost and even charging infrastructure at my own cost. So all this is making it not easy for any private operator to start operating his own buses. So this whole ecosystem needs to be more conducive for operating private bus operations. From government point of view, there is the issue of permits and there is the issue of taxes, for which we are talking to state governments as well as central government. So those issues probably will get resolved, but those issues are also presently hindering growth of this sector. Economic compulsions will force private bus operators to go in for electric buses. When I say, unless this ecosystem gets developed, even if it is making beneficial for me to enter into e-mobility, I will not be able to do that because there is no supporting infrastructure available in terms of charging, availability of bus itself, and manpower.
Thank you, sir. So, but just to understand, like in general, understanding the vibe going around the electrification, but the private sectors are somehow prepared or ready if the proper guidance and support has been given by the national and state government. That's the
absolutely. In fact, we all are eager to go into electric buses, whether it is small operator or big operator. We are eager to go into electric buses because we are literally fed up of this diesel hike. Every now and then diesel is going up, and it is becoming impossible to manage our fare structures. And particularly people, those who are into stage carriage operations, their rates are controlled by government, and government is not willing to increase rate. Our rates in Indore or Delhi, their rates, ticket rates are still 5 rupees, 10 rupees, and we are not getting any subsidy also. So how does one survive in private operations? Public authorities at least get some money when they lose money from government. Where do I get money from? How do I lose money? My house is at stake, my livelihood is at stake. So I just cannot afford to lose money. So when your rates are controlled by government, and your input cost is not controlled by government, it's a serious challenge.
Sure, sir.
So we will be very much willing to shift to electric buses. I mean, you will see much faster adoption once this ecosystem starts developing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to go to Sayam Gandhi once again. Sayam, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Since you've been operating buses in various cities and various experience from respect to cities you have, and also you have the experience of operating the electric cycles as well. As like if you see with the commuter's perspective, like do people get a different aspiration towards electric cycles together, electric buses and electric cycles together? How is the public response and how people are seeking? Do you tend to have a feedback session or understand from people like which sort of the fuel technology they really like, or is it really something which will is it a subject of matter which public are interested or not interested in?
No, so in terms of the experience with electric micro mobility bikes or bicycles, etc., that has been very good in terms of giving the last mile connectivity to bus operations. So in Surat, for example, we operate the city buses, but we also operate the bike sharing system. And the bike sharing system is almost it's free for 30 minutes, unlimited times, right? So it's almost free for everyone, right? This gives the benefit that all the bus stations have a free feeder cost, right? So people that would traditionally, take a auto rickshaw or something directly from their home to wherever they're going, they would instead take this free bicycle, get to the bus station, and then pay, a very cheap fare because they're going in the bus, right? So this actually helps a lot. And with electric bikes, this increases even further, right? So so we're operating bike sharing in about 7 cities, where normally the trips per bicycle comes to around 2.5 to 3. But when we talk about electric bikes, right, there the number of trips increases to almost 5 and 6 per bike, right? So electric bike operation is, the adoption is much higher. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of actually curiosity as well. So a lot of people just operate the electric bikes because they, it's a very, it's a leisure activity as well. So, it gives entertainment as well. So in terms of having the entire city with electric mobility infrastructure, I think that would change a lot of things, right? It would change, the noise level will come down a lot, the pollution level will come down a lot, and just the seamless experience, right? You get on a electric bike from near to your home, then you get to the bus station, get on an electric bus, air conditioned, and then you get off. So essentially, from home to your office or from home to your college, tuition, etc., you have a very seamless experience. You would really, if you're a transit, if you're somebody that is not, born and grown up in the same city, if you're coming from another city and staying there for work or something, you would really not buy another personal vehicle. You would not buy a 4-wheeler. You would not buy a 2-wheeler. So having this end-to-end connectivity, especially with electric, because of the noise level and vibration reduces and the pollution reduces, I think it will give a very seamless experience to everyone. And we're seeing this already.
Thank you, Sayam.
So just to add something here, I would say when it comes to electric buses, drivers are happy, customers are happy, and even owners are happy, because owners don't need to maintain much. Customers are happy because that ride itself is very comfortable, and drivers are also happy because there is hardly anything to drive. So it's a very easy driving. So all three stakeholders are, when they are happy, it has to grow. And it will grow at much faster rate once this ecosystem gets developed.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for the point, sir. So looking at the limitation of time, I would like, Faraz, can you come down and we can limit it to 2 questions. I think I hope you have selected the best 2 so that you can go ahead with our participants, your panelists. Faraz, you're on mute.
Sure. Thanks, Shiva. Thanks for that. And it has been a really engaging session and a panel discussion, and a lot of learning from me as well. And I guess the same would have been for all the attendees. So we have a lot of questions from the participant. Maybe, like as you mentioned, I can limit it to two and ask it. So one of the question is about energy consumption and more or less how the power would be drawn from, or more like how the power generation would look like. Maybe Sayam or Mr. Prasanna could take that up. Like, what do you see the future could be if what we have been reading and seeing, like the energy source or the generation should also be clean on that. So what is your take on that? Like,
I think depots, whatever depots we develop now, we should ensure that we use a lot of solar energy while building that depot. So that would take care of some of your requirement for electric buses. So that will make it more greener also. As far as consumption is concerned, consumption depends on two types. One is driving, and second is the kind of vehicle which are produced. And apart from that, there are certain things which are not under your control, which is road condition, traffic condition, climate condition. So all that has effect on your consumption. So for example, we are operating vehicles in Mumbai and Pune. So Mumbai, same kind of vehicle on some route consumes about 1.3 kilowatts per kilometer. Whereas some of the buses, they consume even as high as 1.6. So there is a lot of difference between route to route, and because of which there is range anxiety also. So initially when we started charging these buses, our people used to charge bus whenever it comes back to depot. So that has also reduced life of batteries. So understanding cycle, understanding route structure is very, very important to conserve energy. But that is a process of learning, which over a period of time, people will learn. And secondly, clean energy by way of solar we can get. So these are the two things I think we should do.
sure. Thank you, Mr. Prasanna, on that. So Saim, would you like to add anything to it, or should I go
Yeah.
to the...
So I was also wanting to, stress on the fact that buses itself, they, whether it's a diesel bus or a CNG bus or an electric bus itself, instead of taking a personal car, it is saving about 150 grams of, CO2 per kilometer per passenger, right? So the diesel bus itself is very, very clean compared to taking the personal car journey, right? It also saves a lot of space in the city, right? So what can be done in 40 cars or 50 cars is getting done in just a single bus, right? So that needs to be understood very clearly. Electric has the additional, benefit that the pollution goes right now because the source is mostly coal, goes from the city maybe to an outskirt, right? And it's also a little more efficient because the electric motor is more efficient than the diesel engine motor. And then comes the clean energy part, right? So we are already, when we are focusing on buses, we are already saving huge amounts of pollution, huge amounts of space on the road we are unlocking. Then the second step, going electric, we are doing another, additional efficiency. And then the third is, clean energy source, right? So when all of three is combined, it's actually, the holy grail that you have the electric buses with a clean power source. Then of course you're completely self-sufficient. You get power from the sun, which is abundantly available in India, and you start operating buses, take people off the roads, take all the traffic out of the road. So buses itself should be the first focus, because we are really lacking in terms of public transportation. And the second step is, electrification and clean source of energy.
Absolutely, I totally agree on that. Like, it's the first step of having a good and reliable public transportation, and then moving towards a cleaner fuel technology. So yeah,
That's one more question.
Yeah, please. Sure.
No, you go ahead with one more question so that.
Achha, okay. Yeah, there is one question I would like to maybe from JMD ma'am and Mr. Mustafa. Like, both of the city, Pune and Surat, has been, I would say Pune, Pimpri, Chinchwad, and Surat have been using a lot of data to make decision making, incentivizing, and making payment and all that. So that's a very critical part of transport planning. Any learning or like we have a question, how a tier 3 or a smaller city can curate the data and how they can make best use out of it for some cities that they don't have any data capturing mechanism. So I'll reach out to ma'am now. So ma'am, what is that one learning you would like to share to any smaller cities or tier 2 or tier 3 cities where they're on brink of starting the public transportation, and what kind of data should they capture and all that? And then to maybe Mr. Mustafa. Ma'am, over to you.
I think ITDP is the best organization to answer this question, but yeah, okay. See, as we all know, data or the skill required for collecting this data, all STUs really doesn't have that much of skilled manpower. So we really need to. That's why we associated with these academic institutions. But now all they say, Mustafa had this ITMS system in place, and Pune also had that ITMS system from 2015 to 2020. So we have huge data, but we need to process that data, and we need to get engaged or to introduce some AI-based system. So having that data only doesn't suffice the purpose, but we really need to work on that. We should have the planning, data-driven planning, where the data, the direction of the data or the users move in the direction. If we do the planning and scheduling based on that data, people will definitely really get converted to this public transport, I would say.
Sure.
Just a connecting question to that, ma'am. Like now, a lot of cities are working towards open data policy and those aspects. Like we just want to understand, like, are we also interested, because that's the way forward, opening the data, and do we limitation as well? Not like everything needs to be open, like which is useful, which also reciprocate to us in form of some information or some sort of a good learning for us. So, what is your take on that, ma'am?
See, as I mentioned, can you repeat your question, Shiva, please?
Ma'am, a lot of cities are now opening up, working on towards the open data policy and all, like how the data needs to be open so that a lot of people can come, their expertise can help in terms of working and supporting the system to see that what an authority cannot see, but they can you visualize the data or give the relevant information to you so that it improves your performance as well. So just want to understand, like how are we working towards that, ma'am? Are we having a way forward towards that one, or like do we have some sort of limitation what sort of data needs to be given, or in terms of privacy as well?
Very aptly mentioned, Shiva. Open data policy, yeah, I personally do agree to have that policy. So unless and until any institution can give the data, if you don't have in-house IT team to analyze that data, to come up with some solution for with that data. So if we have that open data policy, many startups are there who are really working very, very nice with this data and all. So as you are aware of this design eSerg, which are helping us to get this design or the information to reach out the people, to the masses. Likewise, there is one startup who had reached us to with the vending machine kind of thing, where he realized Pune Dashram service is really getting very appreciated by the citizens. So we have that conductorless system. So likewise, there are many startups, or the data can help these guys to improve our efficiency in very different manner, which we have never thought of. So we should have that open data policy, and PMPML has already placed its data on PMC open data portal, I think from 2019 itself. So we really need to have that open data policy.
Thank you, ma'am. So Mustafa, do you like to also respond to that?
It is an important point that you made about regarding the open data, because as a city administration, we are working with this STU. So maybe everyone will feel that I'm doing the best job. I'm having the best use of buses, and I'm doing the best kind of a scheduling thing and all those things. But in a way, if you open the data, then you can invite education institutes someone, like your research organization like ITDP also, and many students who are, doing the thesis and, doing the PhDs on those topics. So in a way, if you ask me that I'll be in the impression that, I'm performing the best. But if they use those data and it can come to you, you should always encourage them, to criticize you guys, right? To criticize public transport agencies. And this criticism should be taken as, in a good way, not in a bad way. So it is actually, they are improving your city and your city's transport operations. So if you open those kind of data to, those education institutes and all those things, you are involved in research and all those things, so then it will be you who will get benefit from them. And you should always be open to those suggestions and all those things. You should not be, like maybe not very much adamant that you are doing as the best way to work and all those things. So yeah, this will, result in a much better way if every SQs are kind of a policy that makes to open the data of public transport operation, maybe ABLS and ticketing data, so that, passengers can also know the information online.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mustafa. I think very insightful discussion we had. I think a lot of questions were thrown, and I think everybody was open enough to give it at most to the level of like, so that the audience is also getting some insight from that. Just to bring in, like, we've been working in the space of electrification, and I personally feel that electric transition needs to be looked as an opportunity. And this opportunity in terms of helping and paving a way for us to make a sustainable world. I think that's how we have to see the electrification term, because there's an opportunity given to us again to not to repeat the same mistake which was done before. I think in that line, I would like to ask the panelists to come up with their closing remarks so that we can go to the vote of thanks and also summary of summarizing the session by Faraz. Thank you. So I will start with Sayam, so that Sayam, you.
Hello.
Yes, Sayam. Yeah.
Hi, pardon me, can you repeat the question?
So just nothing, like we just want to just end with a closing remark, so that just 20-30 seconds, so that we can.
Yeah, no. So I'm very excited that PMPML is also coming up with a huge electric bus tender, and we will surely participate in the same as well. We are, there are two things happening, right? So STUs are all looking towards privatization because it helps with their cost structures, and electric buses are coming in, which is very good for the private operators. So both of these forces are happening at the same time, which is why there is so much momentum in public transportation right now in the entire country. So we are excited to, be part of this journey, and we'll continue to, participate in all the new electric bus opportunities that come up.
Ma'am, can we have a closing remark from your side?
Yes, electric is future, and PMPML is aiming to have clean and green mobility in the fleet. And we really want to have the citizen-centric or commuter-centric operation system and data-driven policies and strategies to deliver or measure the masses of the twin cities.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to invite Prasanna sir to give the closing remark as well.
So I believe firstly, government needs to act non-discriminately. So they should not discriminate between public transport, private and public operator. Again, in public transport, metro and buses. So they should be looking at integrated public transport systems, which are useful for citizens of the country and not useful for particular type of bus or metro or operator. So if they become neutral and look at it as public transport system, which is suitable to citizens, then eventually everything will come up perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as I said earlier, electric bus is the future and it has to come. I mean, we have no choice. Unless hydrogen comes and takes up this place, electric is the way to go forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasanna. So I will request Mr. Mustafa to come forward. Giving a closing.
To end with, data-driven electric mobility, not just electric mobility, but it should be data-driven. Because, someone rightly mentioned, 2 days back, that data is a new oil. So, you can imagine the power of the data that it can bring to any system, be it any public transport system, be it diesel buses or be it electric buses. You always have to focus on data things. And just just will give one example that Surat did. So we, Chitamam talked about this planning thing and scheduling thing. So we actually did this vehicle planning and scheduling thing, and we actually route re-engineered all the routes of our system. So in those 10 routes only, we saved around 8 crore rupees. This 8 crore rupees we have saved is not because of, we are we are curtailing those trips and we are getting, less number of trips, but it is because of the data that to know that where our passengers are. So, arranging buses as per the demand is a challenge for public transport agency. And this challenge will always come to those public transport agencies, and the public transport agencies should be compelled enough that they have to take up this challenge and operate the buses efficiently. So this is how data can play a major role in any public transport system. So yeah.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you for giving the final closing remark. I will give it to Faraz. Faraz, please, I would ask you to summarize what we have discussed crisply and also to give the oath of thanks. Thank you. Thank you all.
Sure, thanks, Shiva. So it would be like absolutely not possible to summarize entire discussion, but few key takeaways that I had over this discussion and learnings for myself. What I feel like everyone has been echoing the same fact, like public transport is a service and it should require some sort of viability gap funding. So that's very important. And on more importantly, on the electric buses, like since the capital cost is extremely high, the government or the STU should come up with some certain plan to engage with private sector as well. Like they are the key players at the end of the day. They are operating most of the fleets, and also data is the key. Like Mustafa mentioned, like we all need to do a planning on that based on the data-driven facts. So with on those note, I'll thank all the panelists for joining us, all senior officials, NGO partners, academic institute, and our YouTube viewers who joined us for this session. Thank you everyone for a very insightful session, and we are looking forward for more such session like with PMPML and others. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, IDDP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.